like to welcome each and every individual to Voices of Integrity podcast for marriages. And there might be some things on this podcast that you might not appreciate. And so, if the truth hurts, it was probably meant to hurt. And the truth will set us free. And so, and the more it hurts, maybe the more truth that there was to something. So we're going to be going into, hurt and healing today. And we've got, I don't know, a few different topics on this that'll be crunched all together. For sure, think about as you're going through and listening, watching this podcast, think about who do you know that could benefit from it? Don't just focus on you gaining benefit and not other people. So think about other people while you're going through this. Rosanna, what's the topic that you had?
When a marriage is out of flow, how to help a couple get back into flow with each other.
Okay. And then, Elaine, what did you have?
Like to help other men understand, help them understand, I guess, how to help women when they hurt her. I'm not sure how I had worded it.
Yeah. So I think your husband, he does a pretty good job with that, would you say?
Yeah.
So what we want to do, and so, Elaine's husband is Ira. And so, so men should study Ira. Like, how does it do it? Is it his personality? Is it something that his parents, taught him? Is it something that he learned growing up? Is it something that Elaine taught him? Is it something he learned for his own survival? Like, I don't know. But when you look for people that are skilled in this. If husbands are not sensitive to their wives, they need to find a man that is sensitive to his wife, and then they need to study that man. We call it in business reverse engineering. Luke's question was, men are kind of wired to protect women. Like a man will go ahead and put his life in danger for a woman, a female that he doesn't even know. He'll give his life for her. They're just wired to protect women. That's kind of not all of them, but as a general rule, I would say that. And his question is, how do you go ahead and not have women take advantage of that? And so the best way to deal with healing is, how about if we don't hurt people in the first place? Like, right? So in my relationships with my wife and others, I wondered why I didn't tell them. This goes back to when I was, let's say, I think it was 19, right before I got married. And my mom was talking to me about sexual things in the marriage, intimacy things in the marriage. And she didn't do that much. And so when she did a handful of times, I listened. And she said, intimacy sexually, she's like, your wife won't know, Mark, what you like sexually. So you have to tell her what you enjoy. And like, I'm 19 years old, I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Like, so she's not a man and she's not me. So if I like something sexually, I have to let her know somehow that really felt good. I really enjoyed that. Now, that's not just, for sexual in a marriage. That's for communication. It's for anything. It's in any relationship. If you like something, tell somebody, I like this. If you don't like something, tell people you don't like it. But then I started to discover when I had an out-of-body experience for myself where I wouldn't tell people what I didn't like. Like, I don't like that. That hurts. Elaine or Rosanna, any ideas why I'm not the only one who doesn't tell people when it hurts?
Because if you tell them and they continue to hurt you, then if you feel like they're doing it on purpose, then
either they're doing it on purpose or they just don't even care. So it's easier to just rationalize in our mind as a husband or as a wife. Like my wife isn't purposely hurting me. She's just doing it on accident. My husband isn't purposely hurting me. Like he's doing it on accident. So it's easier to process that emotionally than to go ahead and process. I've told him 10 times that hurt and he keeps doing it. And so when I realized that a number of years back, I'm saying, that's interesting. So let's dig into Ira and Elaine. And Elaine, how long have you guys been married?
It'll be 16 years this year.
Hey, congratulations. That's awesome. And when you think back 16, how old were you and how old was Ira when you guys got married?
He was 21 and I was 19.
And so, so do you think when you remember back when you were 19, did Ira have this skill when you were 19? When you guys first got married, did he have this ability to be sensitive to you?
A little bit, but not as deep as he does now.
Okay. And so how did he learn how to do that?
Some of it I think was me voicing my I don't want to say opinion, but my concern for things or something to that. And then the other, I think he just learned from reading body language.
Okay. Do you know what motivated him to do this?
I don't think I do.
Rosanna, do you know what motivated Ira to go ahead and be sensitive and study his wife?
Because he loved her.
Yes. But what? What motivated him?
It would be intimacy.
Intimacy is one of the greatest motivators for husbands. So a smart husband is going to go, when I'm sensitive to her, intimacy gets better. It just does. I get what I'm looking for. It's more fun. It's more exciting. It's this or that. It's more fulfilling. And so a smart husband's going to say, when I'm sensitive to her, she is sensitive to me. So that's a part of it. A part of it is maybe just character. Like it's the character that Ira has. Like he just has high character. Like it's something that either his parents taught or instilled in him, or he learned, or he kind of had. I don't know, God put it in him. I don't know what it is, but it's character. What I mean by that is it's like a good husband. I want to be a good husband. I don't want to talk good. I want to be good. So to be good, I have to be sensitive. And if she's being hurt, if she's not, if her needs are not being met, if those things are happening, I am not doing my job as a husband. So it could be character where he's just like, I want to be a great husband. Like, and great husbands, they understand their wives often better than the wives understand them. And wives will say that. They'll say, my husband understands me at times better than I understand myself. That's just being a great husband. So it could be just character. It's like who Ira has decided to be as a man. So I could be this, or I could be self-centered, self-absorbed. I could say I'm a good husband, think I'm a good husband, talk about being a good husband, convince myself I'm being a good husband, but I'm not, but I believe I am. Or I could just be a good husband. And so he's got a choice. I can do it or not do it. And he's making the choice every single day to be a great husband. It could be out of fear or pragmatism. What I mean by that is when they say, if mama's not happy, nobody's happy. I hate that saying. I hate it, because it just puts women in such a bad light to me. But women will say it, men will say it, everybody will giggle and laugh. I'm like, that's so narcissistic of women, self-centered. If I'm not happy, I'm going to make sure nobody around me is happy. I don't think that says much for women. I think it's degrading for women and they don't even know it. It's like, it's not about you. Being a great wife is not about you. It's about your husband. It's about your kids. It's about other people. Just like being a great husband is not about you. It's about your wife and your kids. And so it might be pragmatism, like when I said to our son, when he was, Jonathan, when he was 9 years old and he was having problems with Rosanna homeschooling, and he had attitudes, wasn't obeying her, giving her lip. And it's like, hey, buddy, you need to honor your mom and do what she tells you to do. Now, what I did say to him, I said, if you think your mom is unfair to you, if you think that she's expecting more of you than she does of herself, if you think you have the ability to come back and talk to me about it and say, Dad, I think mom's being unfair. I think she's expecting too much. I think she's harassing me. I think she's bugging me. You have the ability to come back. And I think that might be what Luke might be talking about. Like my mom, there were 4 boys, and I didn't find out until I was probably in my 50s, where my dad said to her, leave the boys alone. Let them be boys. Let them grow up and be men. And that was very hard for my mom. And so she somehow internalized that and gave us more freedom. But I didn't realize how hard that was probably until I got married. And then I saw my wife interacting with my kids, and I'm like, okay, that's very hard for a mom to let go of the boys. And so, so I think it could be out of pragmatism. He doesn't want the drama. He doesn't it's painful. It's painful when it doesn't work out, when he's not being sensitive to his wife. She's going to be like a kid. And if you don't pay attention to a kid, it's just going to get more intense. When I say more intense, and when I say she's going to be just like a kid, I'm not talking down about women. Men will be the same way. It's just human beings. We're just built to be children, kind of, in a way. And so, and when I say some women will get really quiet, if I'm really deeply hurt or really, really angry, I will tend to go quiet. So if I'm raising my voice, if I'm yelling at my wife, if I'm, intense with her, if I'm not happy and verbal with her, and she's very well aware, this does not bother her nearly as much as when I go silent. When I go silent, that absolutely drives her up the wall. And so, but I don't know. These are things that I think what would be great to get Ira on and ask Ira. It might, he's the one that's really being highlighted. He's and so why are you like this? My guess is he's going to laugh and he's going to say, I don't know. I'm not sure. And what we need that doesn't do any good. What we need for Ira to do is reverse engineer and say, were there times, what motivated you? And it's okay to do it like Rosanna says, love. Well, that's romantic. I love my wife. I want to be a great husband. And it's fine. There's some part of that. There's some that's selfish about, well, if I'm sensitive, then the intimacy is just a whole lot better. That's okay too. That's okay too. And then just self-preservation. You know what? So I said to Jonathan, I said, you need to honor your mom because God says to. Got it, Dad. You need to honor your mom and obey her because because you and I are buddies. You don't understand this, but you will later on in life. And that is when you make your mom's life hard, that makes my life hard. And so, it's exhausting being a woman. Just exhausting with kids. And if you got a husband that acts like a child, it's worse than a child because you didn't marry a child, you married a man. And when the man starts acting like a boy and doesn't even realize he's acting like a boy, what in the world is going on here? And so Then I said, do you understand that? God first? Okay. If that's not enough motivation, then do it because you and I are buddies, because I play with you and do this. And I don't know, buddy. I mean, it's hard for me to do those things if your mom's not happy. If you worn her out, if you've worn her out throughout the day. And so I don't think men understand how much children wear out their wives, how much mothers put up with stuff. I don't think they realize that. And if you don't realize that, well, then you're not very sensitive. You're not paying attention. Especially if she has to be the hard one, the disciplinary one. If she's the one she's got to do that potentially all day. And so if she's doing it when you're around as a husband, that's something, like if you're around, man, I'm telling you, those kids better behave around their mom. And she shouldn't have to take care of it from my perspective. And then I said, you got that? And he said, yeah. And I said, now, if that's not enough motivation, look square in his eyes. I said, if that's not enough motivation, she's my wife. I will kill you. And just straight man on man, like, I'll kill you, buddy. Like, don't mess with my wife. So that's what Luke was talking about is possessional. Like, it's like protection. Like, you don't mess with her. So he's 9 years old. His testosterone's starting to kick in. The hormones are starting. He's getting stronger. I mean, once he threw his Xbox across the room, and because he was angry, missed his mother by about 2-3 feet. When I found out about that, it took every ounce of energy for me not to physically harm him. I got in his face, and man, I ripped him. I mean, I just like, buddy, like, he never did that again. And so there's something about, like, it's an understanding. It's like there's a protection. There's like in going through it. But we need to get Ira on, or if you know Ira, talk to him and ask him, like, how do you do it? Like, why do you do it? Ask him to give you suggestions. He's more of a quiet one. He sees stuff. If he's around you and he's around you and your wife, he's probably seeing stuff that you're missing. You want to know that. You just do. So he probably won't tell you that, but ask him. He probably still won't tell you that. Say, Mark, your neighbor Mark, ask me to tell me what you're seeing in me. And so, Ira would be doing both the husband a great favor, because in the end, the husband's going to lose. He just will. So will the wife. So will the kids. But he'll also be doing the wife a great favor too, because maybe, if enough men tell the goofball, eventually he might take it serious. Rosanna, on flow, like, each of the different personalities have flow, right?
Yes.
And so what, you've been married to me, for 39 years. What gets me out of flow probably more than anything else?
When I go emotionally crazy.
Okay, that's not what I was thinking.
It's usually me that causes you to be out of flow when things are out of control.
Why? Okay, so one is control. If things are out of control, so the driver hates when things get out of control. The analytic hates when things are out of order. The amiable hates when there's conflict with others. And the expressive hates when things are boring and not fun. Each of these hate these things. So when things are out of control, that's a risky situation. So there's risk. But what creates even more than things are out of control, with 7 kids, 8 grandkids, a whole bunch of businesses, a whole bunch of people, like, there's a lot of stuff. It's always our lives. There's always something in our lives that's out of control. So that's not really what gets me out of flow with you. What gets me out of flow
is when I'm not thinking.
And what does that mean specifically?
When I put myself in danger, or when I...
So that goes back to what Luke was saying. If you're not attentive and you're putting yourself in danger, that will go ahead and get us out of flow. And so if you're putting yourself or the kids in danger, if you're not paying attention to what's going on around you, if you're putting yourself in danger, that's going to get us out of flow. Okay, good. What
Yes.
puts me out of flow even more with you?
I'm not connecting the dots. Sorry.
Well, I don't connect them either this year. Elaine, do you have any insight for Roseanne on the number one thing that will put she and I out of flow?
Not communication.
So not communicating things gets things messy. If she tells me a lot of words and then misses other things. So if she says 1,000 words and I don't understand what those thousands are, and then she misses 2 or 3 other words that are really important. If she tells me a lot of information about the kids that I don't know why I need that information, but then she doesn't tell me key information that I need to know, that will put us out of flow. So poor communication, weak communication, sloppy communication, not intentional communication, that will put us out of flow. But there's something even
Me not
greater.
telling the truth. Me
What's
not
that?
telling the truth. Me not telling the
You
truth.
not telling the truth is the number one thing that will put us out of flow. If you lie to me or you mislead me, that will put us out of flow more than anything else, in part because of my personality. Because drivers are big into truth. The truth will set you free, and lies, deception. So it's not just not telling me that, it's not just lying to me, but it's also deceiving me. It's not telling me the full scope of the story with the kids or with the financial or with something there. That will put us out of flow. Partly is because of the hurt early on in our marriage, early on in our relationship, in our engagement and others. Like that hurt really, really deeply because the truth wasn't told. And so I couldn't protect you. The truth had been told right away. I could protect you. So there were situations where you weren't protected. And so there's a part of me that takes ownership of that. And so I'm angry. I'm hurt because I could have protected you. As soon as I knew, then I protected you. But until I don't know, I can't protect you. So that brings back all kinds of stuff from the past. And it's like, I can't protect her. I can't protect the kids. I can't help if I don't know the information. Now, for the driver, it's very black and white. You just be honest. For the amiable, it's not. It's hard. They lie and they don't even look at it as lying. It's weird to the driver. I still don't understand it after 39 years of marriage. It's just, why didn't you tell me that? Well, you get mad. Okay, I'm more mad now that I didn't know. Well, I didn't tell you that because I didn't tell somebody that because I was being nice. How can lying be nice? I don't understand it. And so in the short term, that's what it is. It's looking for in the moment. So it's telling somebody something in the moment that's going to create conflict. So the amiable has a reason for doing what they're doing, but the driver says, but that's not going to work. So that's the number one thing, is if people lie to me, it puts me out of flow with them because then I can't trust them. So each of them understand. So I would say what puts us out of flow with what creates the biggest for you is if there's conflict. And the conflict typically comes because there's not honesty, there's not good communication, there's not the truth, and there's going to be conflict. So in many ways, you have control over that. Other things that will, create out of flow is if you're not taking ownership. If you're rationalizing your behavior, the kid's behavior, somebody else's behavior, so what they did hurt themselves, hurt somebody around them, hurt you or I, and then you come up with reasons as to why. So it'd be a great exercise, right, for everybody. List the things that create out of flow. Like what creates what throws things out of flow for you, and then talk with your husband, talk with your wife about that. Does that make sense, Rosanna?
Yes.
You're on mute. Go ahead.
Yes,
Okay. So
it makes sense.
with other women, with your daughters, with other women in marriage, this, you could help them with this. And so, you know, each of the different personalities will probably have, you know, different things that trigger them to be out of flow. I think when we rationalize things or we explain things, I think that makes it even worse. Because I think I know it consciously that when my wife or my kids or people that I work with are explaining why they didn't do something that they know they should have done, I know that their brain is going to do it again because they have a reason for it. That might seem harsh. I think it's loving though. And I'm not saying there's not reasons, but it's like, how do I overcome those reasons? How do I prevent it from happening in the first place? Or how am I stronger next time so I won't have it happen to me again? Otherwise, I really become a victim. When we start explaining ourselves rather than fixing the situation, we become victims. And so your spouse may not be able to articulate it like I can, but they feel it. They can feel it. When you're explaining it, you're not taking ownership. You're like, here's a reason why, and then whatever it is. I didn't discipline the kids. I didn't make the kids follow through. I didn't show you love, whatever. Anytime we explain ourselves, we're not taking full ownership. So it's going to happen again. It also flips it. It also flips it where it's no longer, you know, like if I say I'm going to do something for Rosanna and I don't do it and I explain why I didn't do it, now all of a sudden it's her responsibility. It becomes her responsibility for my actions. Like she's just supposed to accept it. It's the weirdest thing. When somebody explains it, they want you to accept it and say, oh, it's okay that you lack integrity. It's okay. You're doing the best you can do. Nobody can expect it. Well, as a business owner, you learn very quickly. If your best isn't good enough, you get better or you go to get a real job. I think for dads, it's the same thing. If your best is not good enough, then get better as a dad or as a husband. It's simple. That's what you do. Elaine or Rosanna, any other questions or thoughts that either of you have?
Nope, that makes a lot of sense.
Go ahead, Elaine.
Ira just said that that is the way that he understood it to be, was that you that's what you do.
Oh, so he's just like, that's what husbands do.
That's the way it should be, or that's the, yeah.
Yeah, so he came to a conclusion, a good husband, I want to be a good husband. So to be a good husband, I need to be sensitive to my wife. To be sensitive to her, I have to listen to her. I have to understand she's different than me personality wise. I have to understand that I don't see things that she sees. So he just understood this is what it's like. This is what it takes to be a good husband. And then he worked about doing that every single day. And 16 years into it, he's still wondering. Mark, at 39 years, do you get better at it? Say sometimes Ira, I try to, I think I am, but sometimes I wonder if I'm missing something. And so it's a journey that I think men and husbands take. That's not an easy journey, but it's a wonderful journey. I recommend it for every man. I do. And I think women have the same thing with their husbands. Anything else, ladies, either of you have?
Nope.
No.
Okay. So be a participant, don't be a spectator. Okay. So when you're listening to the podcast, you're watching the podcast, Don't just, it's like going to church. Don't just sit in the pew. Like do and feel good. Okay, I felt good. You got to get engaged. And so to get engaged, you go and click on the, for the Life GPS mobile app. And as soon as you join the group, so you can join the group, there's no cost to do it. It takes like a minute or so to register. So it's really easy. As soon as you join the group, you'll be introduced to, one other person. Don't worry, it's not going to get a whole bunch of people. It's one person you would be introduced to in this group. And that person can help you get the most out of this group. The challenge with this is knowledge comes from maybe reading a book or studying or listening to a podcast. So hopefully you have more knowledge. But knowledge puffeth up. Knowledge makes us feel like now I know how I'm supposed to be a good husband or a good wife or whatever. Wisdom comes from doing. Wisdom comes from doing, because most of the time when we do things, it doesn't seem to work. It's okay. Get back on the horse and do it again and again and again and again and again. Don't be a victim. Don't be a whiny baby. Like, okay, how did I miss it? So if you have any questions, connect with the individual who invited you to participate in today's session, or you can call toll free 888-230-2300 outside the U.S. 630-393-9909. And always remember, we can accomplish so much more together than we ever could on our own. Have an amazing day. Bye-bye.